Hello and welcome to all. Of all the military units, the Special Forces are certainly the most trained and the most seasoned, and most probably also the most secret. This last quality is at the core of the job of these elite soldiers, since they often have to execute top-secret missions with a stealth and radio silence worthy of a ghost army. The efficiency of these troops and their ability to carry out the most perilous missions has made their corps a legend, and all young Army recruits aspire more than anything to join it. But to be the best, the soldiers of the Special Forces must undergo a physical and psychological training that defies understanding and that very few men can really bear. So we decided to tell you a little more about the daily life of these elite soldiers and their extraordinary training. So sit back and relax, because today you're going to spend a day with the Special Forces. According to the definition conceded by NATO and most probably by other organizations around the world, Special Forces are military units capable, through advanced training and instruction, of conducting operations in an extremely hostile environment. Indeed, the operating terrain of Special Forces is almost always behind enemy lines, and their missions are therefore primarily to infiltrate undetected. This is, of course, not an easy task, especially when facing a well-trained army with modern equipment. Stealth and great discretion are the first qualities required for any self-respecting Special Forces soldier. In addition to carry out their mission, these soldiers of the shadows must above all not signal their presence. If necessary, this could ruin the operation and very probably also lead to the death of all the members of the commando. So to avoid being spotted, the Special Forces soldiers move very quietly and have learned never to make noise when they walk in the open. Their advanced training allows them to take advantage of the terrain and its crevices, which ensures that they can hide and blend into the background. Of course, these elite soldiers have the latest military equipment and uniforms, which greatly increase their chances of going unnoticed. Wearing very dark suits and accessories because they operate under the cover of darkness, the Special Forces soldiers become almost invisible, especially when they paint their faces with black paint or charcoal, leaving only the whites of their eyes visible. But if they are practically undetectable for the enemy, they can see very well in the dark, since they are equipped with night vision goggles at the cutting edge of technology. Thanks to this little jewel of the military industry, these valiant commandos can, in the most total darkness, on a more than reasonable distance, which brings them a certain tactical advantage. But these are not the only assets these elite soldiers have, because you will see that their equipment is even more advanced than that of an astronaut. To be able to carry out highly dangerous missions, these shock soldiers must have the most effective and sophisticated weapons and communication systems. Commandos are the first military personnel to test new equipment in real combat conditions, since they can be operational even in peacetime. The situations in which the Special Forces will intervene do not require a war to be declared, as they can be deployed to rescue hostages or to search for and transmit information. Special Forces soldiers can also be called upon to sabotage enemy infrastructures, to protect personalities or place under threat, and even to train other soldiers for urban guerrilla warfare or revolution in any country. The Special Forces are not idle in the least, and it is precisely thanks to their feedback on the field that the weapons engineers are able to make the necessary adjustments and improvements to increase the effectiveness of a weapon system. These shock units will also cooperate very closely with weapons manufacturers, sometimes designing weapons or defense systems themselves, which will prove to be extremely effective on the battlefield. The units of the elite forces are therefore very well trained, but also very well equipped, with ultralight Kevlar armor to protect themselves from bullets and shrapnel, and extremely sophisticated assault and handguns. With such equipment, the very small number of commando squads is not a problem, as each soldier alone can take on a small battalion, or even decimate it if he acts in the shadows and in silence. These silent killers are ready to carry out their mission, and no obstacle will deter them or prevent them from doing the job they are paid to do. But it is important to note that these elite soldiers are not mercenaries and therefore have a code of military honor, which they hold dear and respect above all else. Brotherhood and esprit de corps are the central pillars, since a Special Forces soldier could sacrifice his life without hesitation to save that of a comrade or to ensure that the mission is successful. These seasoned soldiers do not give up, and they will fight to the last drop of blood if necessary, which makes them formidable adversaries feared by armies around the world. All military men know the danger represented by these overtrained and over-equipped soldiers who will fight until the end for victory. Because even if they are unarmed, these elite soldiers remain just as dangerous because of their almost total mastery of martial arts and empty-handed fighting techniques. The Special Forces are indeed silent killers, able to take your life in less time than it takes to say it, and without you even being able to utter a scream. Mastering the techniques of striking and knowing on the fingertips all the weak points of the human body, these soldiers can neutralize any opponent, even the most robust and muscular. Their excellent physical condition allows them to carry out very difficult missions over long periods of time without being able to be supplied or relieved, since they are in the middle of enemy territory. They are therefore left to their own devices and have to feed themselves, which makes them perfect survivors, able to adapt to any environment and to find shelter, water, and food. These shock soldiers are therefore even more skilled than scout leaders in wooded areas, but also in deserts or in the jungle. And since they sometimes have to go underwater, they are excellent swimmers who can hold their breath for long minutes without losing their fighting skills. These elite soldiers are therefore experienced in aquatic combat as well as inland combat, which makes them veritable machines of death and destruction, but also greatly increases the chances of success of their operations. But before reaching such a level of efficiency and effectiveness, these soldiers will have to undergo an intense and trying training as well for the body as for the spirit. An extremely rigorous selection will be made from the start in order to choose only the most suitable and promising candidates among all. The aspirants who dream of joining this elite unit must already be in excellent physical condition and above all have a very good cardio. Because these young people will have to run sometimes up to 50 kilometers per day while carrying the weight of their backpacks and weapons. They will also have to have a very good sense of orientation because they will have to use maps to be able to move from one place to another, and this in spite of the darkness or the extreme climatic conditions. And of course, since the Special Forces also operates on the sea, the young aspiring soldiers must be able to swim like dolphins and be operational even underwater. After having completed all the physical and mental tests, the lucky ones who will have been selected will not be at the end of their pain. The daily life of a Special Forces soldier is far from being a restful one, and the young recruits will have to follow an intensive program alternating between theoretical and practical exercises. At the training center of these elite soldiers, the day begins at dawn, and the entire regiment is on the war footing every day from 6 o'clock in the morning. The young recruits will have to tidy up their affairs, put their beds in order, shower, and dress properly, making sure that their uniforms and boots are as neat as possible. Cleanliness and order are therefore essential, and the new recruits will have to learn very quickly not to leave anything to chance, because the chief instructor does not overlook any detail and his sharp eyes are always on the lookout. At 6:45 a.m., the group of young recruits meet in the canteen to have a hearty breakfast because they need strength to face what awaits them in the morning. The meal lasts an hour, which is more than enough time for the body to absorb essential nutrients. And at 7:45 a.m., the entire company gathers for a 15-minute morning briefing. At 8 o'clock sharp, the physical training begins, and the young recruits will have to do grueling exercises without a break. The intense training will continue unabated until 9:30 a.m., when the young soldiers will be given a theoretical lesson on weapons and their handling. And after the theory comes the time for practice, as they will also have the opportunity to handle real weapons and practice shooting. The rest of the morning will be spent outside on the vast military firing ranges equipped with targets where the future members of the Special Forces will have to acquire extraordinary skills worthy of the most efficient snipers. Noon will be the time for lunch, and the young recruits will have to enjoy their meals directly on the spot in order to familiarize themselves with combat situations and the fact of being able to feed themselves even while being under enemy fire. The whole company will gather again at 1:30 p.m. for another short briefing where the complete program of the afternoon will be distributed, because in the barracks, everything is planned to the micrometer and the instructors are regulated like real Swiss clocks. At 1:45 p.m., the apprentice soldiers will again have to take care of the maintenance of the equipment and tools provided to them, and they must be as meticulous as possible, because a round of supervisors will take place right after. And at 2:30 p.m., the future elite soldiers will gather in the classroom in order to take theoretical courses on topography and the art of knowing how to orient oneself in enemy and unknown territory. These exciting lessons will then be put into practice at 3:30 p.m. with orientation exercises and reading and deciphering of topographic maps and geographic data. The challenging day will finally end at 5:30 p.m. with a final briefing where the next day's program will be announced to the company. The young recruits will finally be able to enjoy a little free time, but not for very long, because the lights will soon be out, and already all these beautiful people have to go to bed in order to wake up the next day at dawn, and so on. As you can see, the intensive program that these young apprentices follow is almost inhuman. but it is thanks to it that the Army can train this legendary elite unit that are the Special Forces. Because once they have earned their stripes, these reckless and ambitious recruits will become the most formidable and effective soldiers on the battlefield. These future commandos will indeed be able to carry out the most perilous missions on a territory largely controlled by the enemy, and without any help from their headquarters, since they operate most of the time in the most total secrecy. These stealth units are above all an army of ghosts, striking and killing their enemies before the latter are even aware of their presence. These invisible and silent killers are therefore the terror of more conventional soldiers who fear and respect them at the same time. Special Forces soldiers have become a legend and a part of pop culture, and you only have to look at the number of Hollywood movies that feature them as heroes to realize how popular they have become, even away from the battlefield. Now tell us in the comments what you think of these elite soldiers who formed the legendary Special Forces Corps. Don't forget to subscribe and click here to watch another of our videos.